What's changing, of course, is two things. On the one hand, we have Barroso II, which is a standard thing every so many years. We have a new commission, as you all know. Barroso II, however, ended up in certain realignment of certain portfolios. I won't go into that. The second thing, of course, is the Lisbon Treaty. Baroness Ashton, who now does 4 jobs. She does the job of the Commissioner for External Relations, used to be done by Benita Ferrero-Waldner. She does the job of Javier Solana. She does the job of the rotating presidency in terms of chairing the Foreign Affairs Council, which has been separated away from the General Affairs Council, but this is only for the experts among us here. And her fourth job is that she is preparing and will be heading the European External Action Service, the new diplomatic service of the European Union. I'm sure that with her 4 jobs, she gets four paychecks. And that, I think, is a wonderful thing for any official. A question as to how she gets along with Secretary Clinton. They will be meeting, they've met a couple of times, they will be meeting again in what the French-Canadians call Gatineau in Canada at the end of this month at the G8 ministerial meeting. The blending of all of Baroness Ashton's jobs and of the organisms that report to her into one new structure, this blending is underway, and it will take a while before the dust settles, and I'll get to that probably a little bit later. Cooperation with NATO, very simply, is hindered by one thing, and that's Turkey. The Secretary General talked this morning about that, and what were his proposals? He suggested that Turkey be brought into the European Defence Agency. He suggests that Turkey sign a security agreement with the European Union. He recommended that Turkey and others should be involved with ESDP decision-making procedures. Althea, he mentioned. Turkey is the second greatest contributor and doesn't have anything to say about how it's run. This is what you might call participation without representation. And fact of the matter is, I fully agree with everything the Secretary General said. Let me mention some details. The difficulties between Cyprus and Turkey have actually frozen the EU-NATO agenda. At the Bucharest summit, Malta returned to the Partnership for Peace, signed a security agreement with NATO, but this further isolates Turkey and Greece in their opposition to Turkey, because Malta and Cyprus had been the only people without a security agreement. Several countries have circulated proposals how to enhance the EU-NATO relations, but no concrete suggestion to the current deadlock has been proposed and the papers haven't been followed up. There's a recent paper from November 2009 by Greece, which was noted by the Political and Security Committee in December, with a certain number of recommendations as to how small steps could be taken. These proposals have been forwarded to Fogh Rasmussen by Lady Ashton. And let me say, the two talk. I understand that they talk fairly frequently, and this is a very good thing. I recall from my early days as ambassador to NATO that George Robertson would talk to Javier Solana, and then we would ask him, well, how was the breakfast with Javier Solana? And he would say, fine, we had breakfast and eggs. That's all we would find out at that time. Turkey has growing frustrations with the state of play, and as a result of Turkey's frustrations, Greece and Cyprus have also stiffened their position, asking for a strict reciprocity in the exchange of information and opposing any development in EU-NATO relations, since Cyprus would be excluded. What I call this is mutually frustrating frustrations. The ESDP civilian missions in Afghanistan and in Kosovo have raised further concerns in Ankara. Turkey would like these operations to be placed in the framework of the Berlin Plus, which doesn't really work. So, as a consequence of the deadlock that we have been facing, several meetings between EU's Political and Security Committee and NATO's North Atlantic Council have been cancelled. This is not good, and we have to find a way out of it. There is worry on our part. Since NATO with Turkey have their operation in Afghanistan, we have our police operation in Afghanistan. There's worry on our part that if our people got into trouble, that NATO would not come to help them. There's no agreement to this effect. On the other hand, when I was in Turkey recently, I was reminded that this actually, in actual practice, would depend on the commander in place. I do, however, have to point out that when we were in Afghanistan, when the EU was in, the Commission actually, was in Afghanistan with electoral observation missions twice in the last couple of years, we did reach an agreement with Turkey about helping our people out in extremis. The one thing that works is operating in the sea. You want me to stop? So I'll stop. I won't tell you anything else. Sorry, you want me to conclude? Okay, so we're watching the Turkey-Cyprus-Greek triangle very carefully. We see various points here and there, which I'm not going to go into. I want to, in this context, say that we should not underestimate the importance of the French shift in positions, the most visible of which, of course, is the French realignment within the military structures of NATO, but which has affected other aspects of France's European policy. And let me say about Lisbon that once the dust settles, there will be no first pillar and no second pillar difference. We hope for an even more streamlined management of foreign policy, but however streamlined it will always be, in the last analysis, under the strict control of the 27 member states, and every one of them will continue to have their say in what they have now. What's the solution to all of this? Bring Turkey into the EU, but how to get there requires another conference.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Karel.